2022 수능완성 유형편 English vocabulary for Chapter 1 to Chapter 18. Chapter 1. Adolescent. Self-esteem. Assistant. Opportunity. Analysis. Psychological. Administer. Transcribe. Transcript. Relevant. Chapter 1, Number 1. With respect to. Travel allowance. Do. Represent. Conference. Be recognized for. Human resource manager. Assure. Resolve. Number 2. Subscribe to. Panic. On the basis of. Number 3. Verify. Directory. Up to date. Guarantee. Third party. Update. Ensure. Connect. Critical. Evaluation. Assistance. Ambitious. Number 4. Encounter. Destructive. Notice. Rush. Pick up. Breathtaking. Shelter. Bored. Out of touch with. Monstrous. Chapter 2. Folk. Magic bullet. Motivate. Integration. Novelty. Overshadow. Complicated. Repetitive. Distracted. Competent. Number 1. Analysis. Entity. Distinguish. Practice. Exclusively. Trunk. Merge. Number 2. Authoritarian. Totalitarian. Cooperation. Democratic. Stimulate. Revenge. Family council. Implement. Light years ahead of. Number 3. Artificial intelligence. Surpass. Self-proclaimed. Profit. Overtake. Admire. Neural network. Limited. Operation. Perceive. Formulate. Symbolic. Representation. Explicit. Number 4. Fold. Laundry. Mumble. Under one's breath. Annoyed. React. Ignore. Adolescent. Diminish. Serve a purpose. Chapter 3. Detail. Regardless of. Make or break. Consistent. Shot. Conversation. Cut to. Reaction shot. Master shot. Number 1. Measurement. Radiometer. Considerably. Of the order of. Sunspot. Magnetic storm. Maximum. Correspond to. Minimum. Alter. Numerical. Number 2. Essential. Function. Convey. Consist of. Transmission. Target audience. Reception. Extend beyond to. Customize. Type. Number 3. Urge. On the ground that. Resolve. Long-standing. Command. Authority. Unjustified. Extreme. Like-minded. Modesty. Anew. Recipe. Instability. Constitutional law. Number 4. Overlapping. A wide array of. Adaptable. Mindset. Publication. In-house. Prominent. Crossover into. Columnist. Regular. Chapter 4. Pay. Be tied to. Output. Crop. Harvest. Livestock. Lodging. Adoption. Currency. Shoe. Broaden. Unskilled. Slogan. Annual. Estimate. Number 1. Assess. Province. Analysis. Analyze. Thoroughly. Rely on. Perception. Sensible. Bias. Cut off. Number 2. Ancient. Ethics. Argue. It follows that. Appeal to. Convince. Examine. Clarify. With one's whole heart and mind. Debatable. Number 3. Appeal. Grave. Accompany. Afterlife. Ubiquitous. Plaything. Collectible. Ritual. Spiritual. Sin. Transfer. Carry away. Sorrow. Carve. Tuck. Number 4. Control. Experiment. Physical. Chemical. Investigation. False. Identify. Variable. Constant. Explosive. Setup. Perform. Reproducibly. Elaborate. Institute. Responsible. Ship. Lumber. Frame. Chapter 5. Top. Household waste. Recycle. Table. Million. Approximately. Number 1. Solar. Sector. Respectively. Combine. Exceed. Rank. In terms of. Number 2. Reference. First language. Second language. Billion. Mandarin Chinese. Hindi. Edition. Surpass. Number 3. Share, middle class, sub-Saharan Africa. Household, income, rounding, project, account for. Number 4. Annual, martial arts, track and field. Chapter 6. Professionalism, fellowship, in partnership, monument, draw upon, expand, boundary. Number 1. Aztec, empire, feather, bunch, sew, frame, scholarly, negotiation, underway. Number 2. Playwright, star, script, virtually, embark on, calling. Number 3. Standout, striking, resist, stain, silhouette, dome, plaza, spectacular, direction. Number 4. Native, tower, edibles, ornamentals, partially, food staple, priest, mold into, figure, worshipper, idol, cultivation, threaten, execute, naturalize, embrace, novelty. Chapter 7. Announce, submission, eligibility, entrant, entry, fiction, overall. Number 1. Reading, prominent, on-site, indoor. Number 2. Vivid, dimension, confirm, unit, contrast. Number 3. Sleepover, behind the scenes, craft, stroll, additional, rain or shine, accordingly. Number 4. Face down, flip over. Chapter 8. Be caught in, shore, meditate, desperate, surround, turtle, cup, edge, shell, greenish, leathery, flood, sense, interconnection, let go of. Number 1. Quartet, settle on, combination, individual, choir, readily, available, Hungarian, court, composer, in residence, chamber music, keyboard, double, baseline, inspired. Number 2. Fuel, accumulate, progressively, drowsy, contribution, system-wide, shift, take over, pull an all-nighter, make up for, loss, propose, contraparallel, cannot help but, independent of. Number 3. standalone, instinct, extend, perpetuate, cling to, at large, recognition, glory, consist of, thirst, shelter, elements, sensory system. Number 4, analogy, non-observable, abstract, similarity, informative, trivial, superficial, scenario, atom. Chapter 9, comprehensibility, target audience, critical, assist, standardized, referent, technical term, represent, vertical, orientation, signage, adhere to, convention, prohibition, slash, legally, modification. Number 1, conscientious, dominant, subscribe to, rational, contend, hamper, deliberation, advocate, backwardness, embrace, a case in point, stir, counterproductive. Number 2, cognition, flexible, displace, beak, doorknob, motor, hatch. Number 3, archaeologist, motive, compel, overpopulation, landscape, deplete, unoccupied, territory, carrying capacity, incentive, lean, confine, abundance, scarcity, want, bear, yield. Number 4, assure, come to pass, exclusion, social engineering, manipulation, narrative, get under a person's skin. Chapter 10, be aware of, perceive, particular, vantage point, skyscraper, adjacent, horizontal, span, vertical, completely, invisible, co-intend, validity, arise. Number 1, emerge, nationalism, federation, empire, addition, boundary, negotiate, impose, inherently, unstable, breakup, communism, profoundly, satellite. Number 2, anthropological, association, emphasis, contemporary, interdisciplinary, investigate, comparative, perspective, interdependency, direction, natal, distinct, relevance, uniquely, be poised to do, take on, ever expanding. Number 3, philosopher, cognitively based, transcendent, privilege, enlightenment, pursuit, unquestionable, sensory, awareness, afford, deteriorate into, mirage, dimension, be subject to, interpretation, refined, microscopic, phenomenon, aspire to do, embody, constraint, immutable, deem, reasoning, exacting. Number 4, consumption. Be concerned with, primarily, initially, widespread, context, angle, literature, tendency, impression, influential, assemble. Chapter 11. Outweigh, benefit, suggest, attempt, maximize, potential. Number 1. Specialized, recognize, assembly line, medieval, priest, advance, plumber. Number 2. Intimate, sacrifice, reward, hinder, self-regulatory, prioritize, inhibition, impulse, potentially, destructive, outcome, at a cost of, accommodative, constructively, longevity. Number 3. Distinguish, objectivize, the unique, formalize, preference, calculate, combination, ingredient, necessitate, initial. Number 4. Viewer, impressionist, frequently, depict, frequency, depiction, substitute, lifetime, preference, in a similar vein, observe, encounter. Chapter 12. Subject, cover, free content, reciprocity, publish, give away, feel obliged to do, in return, grateful, rip off, free rider. Number 1. Contribute to, fulfilled, basement, cheat, cover up, recklessly, mean well. Number 2. Aggressive, toddler, hardened, resort to, resolve, dispute, inhibit, impulse, at stake, restrain. Number 3. Principled, rigid, hold back, incredibly, hurtful, nuanced, varnish, differentiate, enrich, nurture. Number 4. Appetite, identifiable, quest, Nobel laureate, catharsis, autobiographical. Chapter 13. Fashionable, inhibit, delightful, scribble, playful, progressively, alter. Number 1. Fork, path, cumulative, define, routine, despair, indication, thoughtful, automatic, be the case, reflect on, reevaluate, reflective. Number 2, computerization, circumstance, compromise, accessibility, standardization, mechanization, codify, sequence, obvious, local, nuance, subtlety, expressiveness, discern, manuscript. Number 3, continually, clapskate, blade, permanently. Number 4, for better or worse, pasture, appreciation, responsiveness, grazing, diverse, capture, welfare. Chapter 14, nuclear, stem from, in numbers, disrupt, predator, plague, scatter, alarm, conservation, breed, current, set off, outbreak, atomic. Number 1, abundance, be associated with, outweigh, disregard, entail, transaction, take up, subsequently. Number 2, sector, agent, toxicity, chemical, regulate, federal, herbicide, rodenticide, fungicide, nematicide, acaricide, disinfectant, fumigant, preservative, vital, pest, crop, commodity, means. Number 3, encode, in terms of, recall, description, perception, encounter, apply to, feature, associated with, bias, bilingual. Number 4, seek, nutritional, requirement, substance, sample, exposure, persist, result. Food neophobia, minimal, infant, demonstrate, adaptive, toddler, reduce, mechanism. Chapter 15, sociologist, point out, be labeled as, common sense, accurate, recognize, refer to as, complicated, conduct, alternative, be faced with, intersection, gravity, application, assume, reasoning, dictate, flawed. Number 1, profit, institution, empirical, enterprise, contradict, previous, be characterized by, commitment, notable, discard, priceless, meteorite, existence. Number 2, assessment, assessor, appropriate, consistency, applicant, appraisal, reliability, unstructured, likability. Number 3, optimum, i.e., grant, exclusive, reproduction, temporary, compromise, utilization, maximize, ownership, aesthetic, compensation, incentive, monopoly. Number 4, fundamentally, insensitive, have a head for, figure, conviction, enclosed, put one's mind to, routine, literary, set book, cheerfully, write-off, cast, sense, literal, notion, specialized, by comparison. Chapter 16, distinguished, misprint, edition, misread, infer, misperception, devise, subject, bar. Number 1, reveal, attack, appropriate, correspond to, in private, inasmuch as, compound, besides, standing, hierarchy, impress, look up to, look down on. Number 2, stereotype, depict, be supposed to do, readily, overcome, deliberation, remarkably, continuum. Number 3, incompetent, alarmingly, dispositional factor, fundamental, attribution, illustrate, attitude, infer, genuinely, pro. Number 4, location, pursue, artifact, external, material, qualify, state of affairs, operation, personal, exercise, in its entirety, pre-exist, agent, akin, fulfillment. Chapter 17, party identification, associate oneself with, mentally, sway, up for grabs, instill, Democrat, Republican, inherit, stable, element, have a way of doing, complicated, shortcut. Number 1 and 2, additional, accounting, finance, resist, broaden, boring, identify, suggestion, resume, introductory letter, persist in, urge, result in, conflict, advisory, client, point out, concentration. Number 3 and 4, privilege, proportional to, interchange fee, merchant fee, impose, surcharge, prohibit, reluctant, retail price, subsidize, prepaid card, reward. Chapter 18, savage, brute, surpass, roar, be condemned to death, arena, cruel, moan, recognition, wag, reunion. Numbers 1 to 3. Press conference, analyst, optimistic, revenue, projection, clipboard, executive suite, exclaim, in disgust, mutter, concerned, gaze, root, receptionist, switchboard, constantly, hang up on, chaotic, get into the swing of, climb the corporate ladder, absent-mindedly, thumb through, engrossed, notice. Numbers 4 to 6. Landlord, encounter, bulging, craftily, accompany, on the pretext of, boarding house, chilly, blanket, stay up, disheartened, dejected, sneak up on, resume, chuckle.